Hello everyone, it's Sen's World, and today we are going to be talking about arpeggios, or arps for short. So let's get straight into it. So an arp is pretty much a facet of notes that are going to be played like around the 1/8, 1/16th speed in order to add more harmony to a track, in order to fill up more of the frequencies. Technically, an arp is used a lot in trance. It can be used in trap music as well. I generally use it for trance. I'm not a big fan of trap, but I'm sure the same concept applies to trap music. Okay, so in order to create an arp, first you need to know your chords, because then if you don't know your chords, you're not going to create an arp that's going to be in tune with your whole track. So let's create some random chords. What I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be using some random chords from the G minor scale. Okay, so here we have an A. It's going to be a chord for this bar here. And then let's just go up to a C and a D sharp, which is the third of C. We're going to do the same here. We're going to go down probably to an A. The third is a C. Generally, you don't want to kind of have these notes the same, so I'm going to use the fifth of A, which is going to be... You know what? Let's just leave it like this for now, since I need to show you both ways of creating it. So then finally, the last one's going to be an F with the A. Let's make it one more down to D, and then G, so it should work out. Okay, so let's just say that's our progression, okay, just to get the video going. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the speed of 1/16th, and technically here's the easy part when creating arps, and I'm gonna show you guys a couple ways you can create these. So the first way is you're gonna have 16th, so pretty much you want every note playing by itself at one point. You don't want to do chords, but let's say we're using the third of every chord here. So one way of doing an arp, you could go from G to A being the highest. So G is the lowest, a tonic, and A is a high. So this is your chord, so we need to get to A, so for the arp to work. So the easiest way is just to add this transitional note, which I like to call the A, in between the two notes. And that's pretty much it for this technique here. All we do is drag it, Control D it all the way. Take these two. And then we do the same for the next note. So C, whoops. We got the C here, and then we got the D. So the D is going to be the highest. We have the transitional note of D, and then the D sharp. So let's do that. You want your velocity up all the way. Let's get rid of these. And then we're just gonna be doing the same for all the chords, and then from there we're gonna go into more ideas on how to vary the arps a lot more advanced. This is pretty much a beginner step here. Okay, and finally we got the last one. So our G is gonna be the third in the arp, and then there we go. So just Control D it, and we should be done. So it should sound like this. Oops, A sharp. Okay, so these three sound good, but this one doesn't. So let's fix that. So I'll probably move this up to the A sharp, and then should be fine. Okay, so there we have a decent progression. Okay, so this is the simplest way of making an arp. Now, of course, it's more ways. So the next thing we can do is we can move this A sharp here to the fifth of the chord. So remember how we had G and A sharp as our first chord. Now what I could do is probably move this up to the fifth of G, which is going to be the D. And I can move the middle transitional note to the third. So then we get this. And then we'll do the same for all of them. So we're going to get the fifth of the D, which is going to be, we're going to get the fifth of C, which is going to be probably the F, the G. And then we're going to move this to the third, which is the D sharp. And then we just do the same for all these, okay? And it's really, really simple. And then from there, you can choose which one you like the best. But then again, there's many more ways that I'm going to show you. So just make sure to stick around. This is not just the last of the tutorial. Okay, so let's move it here. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So third, 1, 2, thirds here. Okay, so there we go. Now what we are doing here, the technique is using the third and the fifth of the bottom note here to create an arp. So as you can see, we have the G, A, D, and then we continue. Now the next thing we can do is we can take these off, and we can use 4 notes instead of 3 for our arps. Now if you're going with the 4-note route, you can start creating arp melodies, which I like to call, which pretty much the note in the top you get to change wherever you want. So this is what's going to happen. So I have a G, A, and a D, and then another note, which is going to be the F. And if I repeat this, then you can change this note here. And let me increase the velocity of it, because I really don't like it. And then we get to change this note, probably like, let's say you want to create a melody. You just start putting in random patterns. That's what I'm doing right now. And there we have like an arp melody going. And you can use the same technique in order for 3-note arps. Like let's say I want to do the 3-note method here. Then all I need to do is and you just move these notes wherever you want. Whoops, forgot we need to move these again. So Control C that, and then we move them closer together. So we got it. And then we just repeat it, and then you can change this note wherever you want. So generally the whole idea of the arp is, just you can do harmonies, but you can get more creative with the arp. You can start creating melodies with it. Like pretty much if I were to take this off down here and I had to play this, generally you want the top to sound like a melody. So if I were to take these off, and now with them on, so as you can see, the top is always going to work as a melody. So yeah, there's so many ways you can do it. The final way to use an arp is pretty much just the simplest way, and another simple way, sorry, and it would be just to go from G to A, and then you get to choose whichever's on top. So we can start moving it around a bit. So let's do this. Let's move it around a little. Whoops, sorry. We need to make sure they're all in the right spot, or else that's gonna happen. And then finally here. So again, this is not gonna be as harmonic because you're not using theory here. Pretty much you're going balls out and just randomly doing and hopefully making, like, praying it sounds good. But if you're going the theory way, you have to understand that the G is always going to be in harmony with the third, the fifth, the seventh, and as long as you play the third, the fifth, and the seventh of those notes, that how would I put this? As long as I play the third of G, it's in harmony. If I play the third of A, it's going to be still in harmony. So that's the whole idea of it. So in general, you want to just keep that in mind. But at the same time, you don't want that to restrict you, because you can do a lot of great melodies without using the third and the fifth. You just have to be really careful what notes you're choosing, because then you could start creating some dissonance, or it's not going to make sense to the brain. Okay, so hopefully this tutorial was helpful to you guys. The sound I used was from Nexus. It was in the plugs. It was the Pisa Cult. Whenever I like to make my arps, I always love using strings, any type of stringy sounding synth. So hopefully this was helpful. If you guys have any more questions, please let me know. And as always, you can always make this faster or slower, and it's still the same concept. Okay, so hopefully this was helpful, and I'll see you guys later.